Nathan adjusted his old suit nervously, stepping into the grand ballroom where his company's annual corporate party was being held. The towering chandeliers and clinking glasses reminded him that he wasn't in his usual environment. For years, Nathan had dedicated himself to hard work, often in small, modest settings. But today was different. Today, he had been invited to attend a gathering of prominent business figures. As he scanned the room, he spotted a face from his past that he hadn't expected to see: Olivia, a former classmate. She looked as glamorous as ever, elegantly dressed, her confidence radiating across the room as she chatted with the elite guests. Nathan hesitated, hoping to avoid her gaze. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. Their eyes met, and Olivia, recognizing him almost immediately, made her way over with a smirk. "Nathan, is that really you? I'm surprised they let just anyone in here now," she sneered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Nathan managed a polite smile, swallowing the familiar sting of her words. He remembered Olivia from high school as the popular girl who would look down on anyone she deemed below her. Back then, he had been a quiet, shy student, often struggling with family issues and financial instability that affected his performance in school. She laughed, her tone condescending. "So, what are you up to these days? Working some modest job, I assume? Or maybe you're still that dropout who couldn't keep up?" Nathan clenched his fists, the bitterness of her words digging into old wounds. "I'm doing well, thank you," he replied, keeping his tone steady, though the memories of his past struggles flooded his mind. He remembered the nights he had spent awake, worrying about his mother's health, wondering how he could possibly help their struggling household at such a young age. This was the Olivia he remembered, looking down from her pedestal, as if wealth and status were the only markers of success. She continued, unfazed by his silence. "People like you just don't belong here. My husband is the director of one of the top companies here. You know, people who actually have real achievements," she bragged, gesturing to a well-dressed man across the room. Nathan held back a reply, refusing to let her see his hurt. Instead, he quietly walked away, feeling the weight of her words but determined not to let them overshadow the progress he had made. He told himself he was no longer that same insecure teenager. As he left the ballroom, Nathan reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. The years of sacrifice, the nights spent juggling jobs to make ends meet, and the self-education he had pursued with relentless dedication. He knew he couldn't change the past or Olivia's opinion of him, but he also knew he didn't need to. What mattered was his journey and the resilience he had built through every hardship. But as he walked into the night, a part of him held on to the sting of Olivia's words, a reminder that the past, no matter how far he came, was never too far behind. Years before the corporate party, Nathan had been a teenager struggling to stay in school. His mother had fallen seriously ill, and with no one else to support them, he made a choice that would change his life. He dropped out of school. Leaving his education behind wasn't an easy decision, but he couldn't bear to see his mother struggle alone. For Nathan, this sacrifice was a necessity, not an option, even if it meant giving up his dreams for a better life. Working part-time jobs, he experienced the harshness of manual labor, facing ridicule from his peers and the pity of those around him. He learned quickly that people rarely looked beyond the surface. His youth, lack of education, and quiet demeanor made him a target for the judgments of others, but he kept going, finding small ways to improve their situation. With every paycheck, he bought groceries, paid bills, and did his best to keep his mother comfortable, knowing she worried about his future. Late one night, after an exhausting shift at a local diner, Nathan found himself questioning if he had made the right choice. Was this his life now, endless hours of work, fighting to make ends meet? The weight of responsibility often felt overwhelming, but he reminded himself why he was doing it. He couldn't abandon his mother. The world may have been cold to him, but he held on to the warmth of family, letting it fuel his resilience. Little did he know, this determination would one day become his greatest asset. One rainy evening, while Nathan was working at a small convenience store, a well-dressed older man entered the shop. Nathan greeted him politely, noticing the man's kind eyes and warm smile. The man struck up a conversation, curious about Nathan's story. Reluctantly, Nathan shared bits of his journey, mentioning his struggles and the sacrifices he had made. The man listened intently, and before leaving, he offered Nathan a piece of advice that would resonate with him for years: never stop learning. Knowledge is power, even if you're not in a classroom. The man introduced himself as Mr. Coleman, a retired businessman who had once run a successful company. He saw potential in Nathan and decided to take him under his wing, guiding him in learning basic finance and investment principles. Nathan was both skeptical and grateful, unsure if he could grasp such concepts without a formal education. But with Mr. Coleman's encouragement, he began to study diligently, spending every spare moment devouring books and tutorials. Soon, Nathan found himself gaining a new understanding of the world, one that extended beyond the walls of the convenience store. Mr. Coleman taught him about the power of investments, explaining how small, consistent efforts could grow over time. For the first time, Nathan felt a sense of control over his future. It was a slow journey, filled with setbacks and self-doubt, but he was determined to make something of himself, no matter how humble his beginnings. Nathan's first investment wasn't anything grand. It was a small, conservative stock in a local company that Mr. Coleman had recommended. He watched the stock closely, checking it every day with a mix of excitement and anxiety. It wasn't much, just a modest amount he'd saved over months, but it represented hope, a chance to break free from the endless cycle of menial jobs. The weeks turned into months, and gradually, Nathan saw his investment grow. This small success fueled his ambition, and he continued learning from Mr. Coleman. As he began to see returns on his investment, he felt a growing sense of purpose. No longer was he just working to survive, he was working towards a goal, something beyond the daily grind. With each new skill he learned, he felt more confident, more capable of navigating the challenges that life had thrown his way. Encouraged by this taste of success, Nathan reinvested his earnings, diversifying into other small stocks and savings accounts. His financial knowledge grew, and so did his resilience. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about reclaiming his life, proving to himself that he could rise above the circumstances he was born into. For the first time, he believed that his dreams were within reach. Nathan continued working his regular job, but his mind was now filled with ideas for the future. He found himself eagerly awaiting each conversation with Mr. Coleman, each new lesson in finance, and the thrill of watching his investments grow. Slowly, he began to envision a future where he wasn't just a survivor but a creator, someone who could shape his own destiny. This dream became his lifeline, guiding him through the darkest of times. Despite his newfound drive, Nathan kept his aspirations to himself, sharing his journey only with his mother and Mr. Coleman. He knew that many people wouldn't understand his goals. They'd dismiss him as just another dropout trying to get rich quick. But this was different. For Nathan, every dollar saved, every investment made, was a step towards a better life, one where he wouldn't have to rely on anyone's pity or charity. Yet, as he moved forward, the shadows of doubt and fear would sometimes creep in. What if he failed? What if his dreams were nothing more than illusions? But each time he felt overwhelmed, he would recall Mr. Coleman's words, "The only true failure is giving up." And so, Nathan pressed on, carrying his dreams in his heart and his mother's love in his soul. An opportunity came unexpectedly when Nathan was hired by a small tech startup. It was a significant leap from his previous jobs, offering him a steady income and a sense of stability he hadn't experienced before. The company was young and growing, and Nathan found himself in an environment where innovation was encouraged, and hard work was rewarded. This new role allowed him to apply the financial knowledge he had acquired, and he quickly stood out for his dedication. Nathan's managers took notice of his work ethic and his willingness to learn. They offered him a promotion, a testament to his growth and resilience. The young man who had once been a high school dropout, mocked and underestimated, was now a valuable team member with promising prospects. His hard work had paid off, but he knew this was just the beginning. In this new chapter of his life, Nathan began to feel a sense of belonging, a place where he was valued for his skills and perseverance. He was no longer just a survivor, he was a contributor, building a foundation for a brighter future. And as he excelled in his role, he couldn't help but think of the day he'd cross paths with those who had doubted him, ready to show them how far he'd come. After years of studying and disciplined saving, Nathan finally made his first substantial financial gain. One of his investments had yielded a significant return, giving him enough to consider expanding his portfolio. This win felt surreal, a stark contrast to the struggles of his past. He couldn't wait to share the news with his mother and Mr. Coleman, both of whom had believed in him from the start. Celebrating this success felt like closing a painful chapter of his life. Nathan was no longer just the young man trying to survive, he was someone with the power to change his own circumstances. He decided to reinvest his gains, taking calculated risks and pushing his boundaries. The thrill of each new investment, each strategic move, became a testament to his growth. While he knew there were risks, Nathan was prepared to face them head-on. This wasn't just about money, it was about achieving a life of dignity and independence. With his newfound confidence, he began to dream even bigger, envisioning a future where he could give back to others, just as Mr. Coleman had helped him. But he also knew that the journey was far from over. Nathan's financial growth allowed him to start thinking of other goals, like moving his mother into a better neighborhood. Their current apartment had been home for years, but it was cramped and old, with thin walls and little light. His mother, who had always been his support and his reason to keep going, deserved better. With the returns from his recent investments, he began planning their move. One evening, after dinner, Nathan nervously shared his idea. His mother, who had grown accustomed to a life of frugality, looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and pride. "Nathan, you've done so much already." "I don't need a fancy place," she said, her voice full of humility. But Nathan insisted, feeling a strong desire to repay her for all the sacrifices she had made. A new apartment was more than just a house, it represented a new chapter, a symbol of his hard work and his mother's enduring faith in him. Within a few months, they had found a cozy, sunlit apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Moving in felt surreal, a dream that Nathan had long thought impossible. Seeing his mother finally at ease in a comfortable home filled him with pride and gratitude. He felt like he was finally starting to fulfill his promise to himself, transforming not just his own life but also that of the person he loved most. Nathan's professional life was blossoming as well. His hard work and dedication hadn't gone unnoticed at the tech startup, and his managers frequently praised him for his problem-solving skills and perseverance. They encouraged him to take on more challenging projects, pushing him to develop skills he hadn't known he possessed. For the first time, he felt like he belonged somewhere outside his family, a part of a team that valued him. Working with driven, motivated individuals inspired Nathan to keep aiming higher. He started to recognize his own worth, something he had doubted for so long. The sense of respect and appreciation he received at work fueled his confidence, making him more determined to improve. He invested time in learning new skills and concepts, constantly expanding his knowledge in finance, technology, and management. In a way, his colleagues became a second family to him. They were supportive, celebrating each small victory with him. Nathan, who had once felt out of place and invisible, now found himself a key member of the team, his contributions recognized and valued. It was a newfound sense of belonging that anchored him, giving him strength to face whatever challenges came his way. With his income from work and growing returns from his investments, Nathan began exploring real estate as a means to secure his financial future. He took on his first real estate investment, a modest apartment in a developing area. He knew this venture carried risks, but his disciplined approach and thorough research gave him confidence. He had learned from Mr. Coleman to evaluate each decision carefully, never rushing but always moving forward. Nathan spent hours studying market trends, researching properties, and consulting experts. This dedication paid off when he secured his first rental property. The income wasn't significant at first, but it added stability to his finances. More importantly, it represented his growing expertise and boldness in navigating a new field. This step further fueled his dream of financial independence, a dream that was becoming his reality. Every time he visited the property, he felt a surge of pride, knowing that he was building a future that would sustain him and his family. Nathan's sense of purpose only deepened as he continued to invest strategically, each new property adding another layer of security to his life. For him, these investments weren't just business, they were stepping stones to a life of stability and dignity. As Nathan's financial success continued to grow, he started reflecting on what truly mattered to him. He thought back to the kindness Mr. Coleman had shown him and how much his mother's unwavering support had fueled his journey. Nathan realized he wanted to give back, to use his success to help others who, like him, had started with little and faced an uphill battle. He began volunteering at local youth organizations, sharing his story with young people who were struggling. He spoke about resilience, the power of self-education, and the importance of finding mentors. His story resonated with many of them, and he found great fulfillment in seeing their faces light up with hope and determination. In helping others, he found a deeper sense of purpose, a reason for all his hard work beyond his personal gain. Nathan's commitment to helping others became a cornerstone of his life philosophy. He decided that, just as Mr. Coleman had guided him, he would do his part to mentor and inspire the next generation. With each story he shared, he felt himself growing, transforming from a young man struggling for survival into a mentor, a guide for others who needed a beacon in the dark. With his accomplishments growing, Nathan felt a strong urge to reconnect with Mr. Coleman, his first mentor. He reached out, and they arranged to meet at a small cafe. Seeing Mr. Coleman again brought back a flood of memories, each one a reminder of how far he had come. They sat together, sharing stories of the years that had passed, both proud and humble about their respective journeys. Nathan thanked Mr. Coleman sincerely, expressing how the wisdom he had received had changed his life. Mr. Coleman, in turn, praised Nathan's dedication, admitting that he had always seen something special in him. "You've turned every lesson into action, Nathan," he said, his voice filled with pride. "That's something rare. Never forget where you came from, and never stop moving forward." Their reunion was more than just a catch-up, it was a celebration of resilience, determination, and the power of mentorship. Nathan left the cafe that day with a renewed sense of purpose and a deep appreciation for the role that guidance and kindness play in shaping lives. This encounter strengthened his resolve to help others, and he committed himself to continue walking the path Mr. Coleman had set him on. With his investments yielding solid returns, Nathan was finally able to fulfill a promise he had made to himself years ago, buying a home for his mother. He spent months searching for the perfect house, one with plenty of light, a small garden, and enough space to make her feel comfortable. This house represented not only his success but also a way to thank her for the sacrifices she had made. When he brought his mother to see the house, she was speechless. Tears filled her eyes as she looked around, taking in the cozy rooms, the beautiful kitchen, and the garden where she could plant flowers. She hugged Nathan tightly, whispering words of gratitude and pride. For Nathan, seeing his mother's joy was worth every struggle he had endured, every hour he had spent working and studying. Moving into the house was a dream come true, a culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. Nathan knew he had come a long way from the struggling teenager he once was. He had built a life filled with purpose, security, and love, creating a legacy that he hoped would inspire others to rise above their challenges. Back at work, Nathan's dedication continued to pay off. His supervisors saw in him a rare blend of diligence, insight, and humility. They offered him new responsibilities, encouraging him to lead projects and manage teams. With each success, Nathan's confidence grew, and he found himself stepping into leadership roles he had once thought beyond his reach. Colleagues began to seek him out for advice, admiring his calm approach and his commitment to lifting others up. Nathan, always modest, shared his knowledge openly, happy to help those around him. For him, success was not just about personal achievement, it was about empowering his team, creating an environment where everyone felt valued and inspired. The respect he earned from his coworkers made Nathan feel more grounded. The young man who had once been belittled for his humble beginnings was now a respected leader, trusted and appreciated. Each day he spent at the company reminded him of how far he had come, yet also of the responsibility he held to be a source of support and encouragement for others. With financial stability firmly established, Nathan decided to expand his investment portfolio. He moved into more significant ventures, including commercial properties and stocks in technology firms. Each new investment was a carefully calculated risk, and Nathan approached each one with the same discipline and research that had guided him from the beginning. The process was not without its challenges, as the market could be unpredictable, and not every decision yielded immediate success. But Nathan had learned to be patient, trusting in the long-term strategies that Mr. Coleman had instilled in him. He was no longer just a survivor of his circumstances, he was now shaping his future, step by step. Through each investment, he felt himself growing more confident and more resilient. He was determined not just to accumulate wealth but to create a foundation for lasting security. For Nathan, this financial growth represented not only personal success but also the opportunity to expand his impact, using his resources to help others realize their dreams. Years after leaving his difficult past behind, Nathan attended a prestigious business conference. As he mingled with the crowd, he saw someone he hadn't expected to encounter again, Olivia, his former classmate who had once looked down on him. She was now working in a business facing serious financial struggles, her confidence dimmed and her glamorous image showing signs of strain. At first, Olivia didn't recognize him. She greeted him with polite disinterest, her eyes scanning him as just another attendee. But as their conversation unfolded, she realized who he was. Shock flashed across her face, quickly replaced by a look of embarrassment. The man standing before her was no longer the insecure teenager she had humiliated. He was successful, composed, and, above all, someone she couldn't ignore. As they spoke, Nathan remained courteous, refraining from any mention of the past insults. He didn't need to. Olivia's expression told him everything. The tables had turned, and he could see the realization dawning on her. The once ridiculed high school dropout was now someone respected and successful. Nathan held no grudges, but he knew this encounter would be a lesson she would carry with her for years to come. A few days after the conference, Nathan received an unexpected call. It was Olivia, her voice hesitant yet urgent. She confessed that her company was in dire straits and she was reaching out, hoping Nathan could provide some guidance. As someone who had risen from a background of hardships, Nathan understood what it meant to be in need. Although he still remembered the pain of her past mockery, he listened carefully, recognizing her vulnerability. Olivia explained the company's challenges: poor investments, dwindling clients, and an unstable financial situation. Nathan could hear the frustration in her voice, the weight of desperation. She was no longer the confident, dismissive person he had once known, but rather someone humbled by her circumstances. Olivia sounded like someone searching for redemption. "Please, Nathan," she said finally, "I know I don't deserve your help, but I don't know who else to turn to." Nathan hesitated, considering the irony of the situation. Here was the very person who had once belittled him, now asking for his assistance. But as he weighed his emotions, he decided to set aside their history. Nathan saw this as an opportunity not just to help Olivia but to share the lessons he had learned. He agreed to meet her, determined to show her a way forward, both in business and in character. When Nathan and Olivia met at a quiet cafe, he noticed the exhaustion etched on her face, a far cry from the polished appearance she once maintained. Olivia seemed tense, struggling with her pride as she sat across from him, waiting for his advice. Nathan sensed her discomfort, but he knew that to truly help her, they needed to have an honest conversation. After hearing her situation in detail, Nathan gently explained the importance of humility and self-awareness in business, values he had embraced on his journey. "Success isn't just about status or wealth, Olivia," he said, his voice calm yet firm. "It's about resilience, kindness, and knowing that everyone's journey is different. You never know when life might turn tables on you." Olivia listened quietly, the weight of his words sinking in. For the first time, she looked at him with genuine respect, realizing the depth of his wisdom. Nathan's willingness to help her despite their painful past surprised her. She had expected coldness, perhaps even rejection. Instead, he extended kindness. As she absorbed his words, Olivia understood that this meeting was about more than just saving her career, it was about transforming her perspective. Nathan knew Olivia needed more than advice, she needed actionable steps to pull her company back from the brink. He spent the next few hours discussing potential strategies with her, guiding her through the basics of financial restructuring, client relations, and sustainable business practices. Olivia took notes meticulously, occasionally pausing to ask questions or seek clarification, her previous arrogance replaced by gratitude and humility. By the end of their meeting, she looked at him with newfound appreciation. "Thank you, Nathan. I never expected this kind of support, especially after how I treated you," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Nathan simply nodded, accepting her gratitude but without lingering on the past. For him, this was about showing how one's character could lead to greater fulfillment than any temporary status or wealth. Nathan also shared his journey, explaining how he had worked his way up from nothing and faced judgment and doubt along the way. He wanted Olivia to understand that her struggles, while painful, could be the catalyst for growth and change. He hoped she would learn from her challenges, not just to save her career but to become a better person. As they parted ways, Nathan felt a sense of peace, knowing he had extended a hand of compassion to someone who once saw him as insignificant. After her conversation with Nathan, Olivia returned to her office feeling both overwhelmed and inspired. The meeting had given her more than just a roadmap for her company, it had offered her a new outlook on life. She began to realize that her previous view of success had been narrow, shaped by superficial values and shallow judgments. Nathan's humility and resilience struck her deeply, and she felt a growing desire to change her ways. In the days that followed, Olivia implemented the strategies Nathan had suggested. She approached her team with transparency, admitting the company's struggles and rallying them to work together towards a common goal. Her employees, who had grown distant due to her previous arrogance, began to see a different side of her, one that was vulnerable, committed, and genuinely respectful. This change didn't happen overnight. Olivia faced setbacks, and her pride would often resurface, challenging her resolve. But she pushed forward, determined to grow and to honor Nathan's support by becoming a better leader in person. Each day, she reminded herself of the lessons he had shared, using them as her guide as she navigated the rocky path of transformation. As he continued with his own journey, Nathan found himself thinking more about the impact he could have on others. His encounter with Olivia reinforced his belief in the importance of mentorship and compassion. Nathan knew that he had the ability to inspire others who were struggling, just as Mr. Coleman had done for him. He reached out to local youth organizations, offering to speak to young people who, like him, were facing obstacles. Nathan's story resonated with the youth, many of whom had never heard from someone who understood their struggles so deeply. His message was clear: life might throw you challenges, but resilience and kindness could build a foundation for success. His humility and authenticity struck a chord with them, and he began receiving requests for more talks and workshops. This new role as a mentor brought Nathan immense fulfillment. He was giving back, offering others a path forward just as he had received when he needed it most. Each life he touched strengthened his own commitment to kindness and resilience, creating a cycle of positivity and growth that he hoped would ripple far beyond his own reach. With his investments continuing to flourish, Nathan decided it was time to formally establish a foundation focused on education and financial literacy for underprivileged youth. He saw it as a way to empower young people to dream beyond their immediate circumstances, to provide them with tools that would open doors he hadn't even known existed when he was their age. The foundation quickly gained support, attracting donors and volunteers who shared Nathan's vision. The organization offered free courses, mentorship programs, and scholarships aiming to give youth the chance to learn skills that could change their lives. Nathan's foundation became a beacon of hope for many young people, and he devoted himself to its growth with the same dedication that had guided his personal journey. Creating this foundation wasn't just a professional accomplishment for Nathan, it was deeply personal. Every scholarship awarded, every mentorship session held, was a testament to the hardships he had faced and overcome. Through his foundation, he was able to extend his story of resilience and turn his pain into purpose, offering others the chance to rise above their circumstances. Nathan decided to celebrate his achievements quietly, gathering only a small circle of friends, colleagues, and family. He invited Mr. Coleman, his mother, and a few close friends from work to a modest dinner at a small restaurant. As they shared stories and laughter, Nathan couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude. This dinner was more than a celebration, it was a moment to appreciate the people who had been there for him throughout his journey. When it was Mr. Coleman's turn to speak, he raised his glass, his voice filled with pride. To Nathan, who has shown us all what it means to rise from the ashes and create something beautiful out of hardship. The room filled with applause, each person genuinely moved by Nathan's achievements. For Nathan, this simple gathering was the perfect way to honor his journey and the people who had believed in him when he had little to offer. Looking around at the faces that had become his family, Nathan felt a surge of warmth and contentment. He had come a long way from the struggling teenager who had once been filled with self-doubt. Now, he was surrounded by people who respected him not for his wealth but for his integrity, compassion, and resilience. It was the truest form of success he could have imagined. Months passed, and Olivia continued to work on rebuilding her company and herself. The guidance she had received from Nathan had sparked a transformation, one that extended beyond business strategies. She began volunteering her time at the same youth organization where Nathan spoke, hoping to learn more about empathy and humility by helping others. Working with the young people, Olivia felt her perspective shifting further. She realized how much she had taken her own privileges for granted and began to understand the struggles that many of them faced. These experiences softened her, turning her into someone who valued relationships and respect over status and wealth. It was as if the challenges she faced had stripped away the superficial layers, revealing a person who was finally ready to grow. As she continued to reflect on her life and choices, Olivia decided to reach out to Nathan once more. She wanted to thank him for his kindness and share how his words had inspired her journey of self-discovery. For the first time, she felt a true sense of purpose, a desire to create a legacy of kindness and understanding. One day, as Nathan was conducting a workshop at the youth center, he noticed Olivia standing at the back of the room, observing him with a soft smile. After the session ended, she approached him, her demeanor humble and sincere. "I wanted to see your foundation in action," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "You've created something truly impactful, Nathan." Nathan welcomed her warmly, sensing the change in her. Gone was the Olivia who had once belittled him, in her place was a woman transformed by her experiences. They talked for hours, sharing updates on their lives and reflecting on their journeys. Olivia admitted that her path to humility had been painful but necessary. "I owe so much of my growth to your kindness and patience, Nathan," she said, her voice wavering with emotion. For Nathan, seeing her transformation was deeply moving. He felt a quiet sense of pride, knowing that he had not only risen above his own challenges but had also played a part in helping someone else find their way. This reunion marked a new beginning for both of them, a testament to the power of resilience, kindness, and redemption. As the foundation expanded, Nathan continued to pour his heart into mentorship, guiding young people who were eager to rise above their own struggles. He shared stories of his journey, reminding them that every setback could be a stepping stone, every challenge a lesson. Nathan's humility and relatability inspired countless young people, who saw in him a reflection of their own dreams and hardships. Nathan's foundation became known for its emphasis on character as well as skill, teaching not just financial literacy but also resilience, empathy, and self-worth. He taught his students that success was not measured solely by wealth but by the positive impact they could create in the world. Each new class brought a renewed sense of purpose, deepening his commitment to making a difference. Through these teachings, Nathan solidified his legacy. His journey from hardship to success became an enduring source of inspiration, a blueprint for those who sought to overcome adversity. He knew that his foundation would live on, touching lives long after he was gone. It was the culmination of his life's work, a legacy built not from wealth but from kindness, courage, and the desire to uplift others. Nathan's foundation continued to thrive, reaching more communities and expanding its programs. His mission was no longer just his own, it had grown into a movement that inspired others to carry forward the values he held dear. Young people who had once been lost found direction through his guidance, and many returned to volunteer at the foundation, eager to give back and continue the cycle of support and growth. The foundation's annual gatherings became cherished events, where Nathan and his team celebrated the achievements of their students and shared stories of transformation and resilience. During these gatherings, former students would speak of how Nathan's mentorship had helped them build confidence and secure careers. Each story was a reminder of the power of compassion and the profound impact one person could have on countless lives. At one of these gatherings, Nathan looked around at the faces before him, young adults, once struggling, now thriving, each of them a testament to the values he had worked so hard to instill. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that his work would continue to touch lives even after he was gone. This was his legacy, a community built on kindness, courage, and the belief that anyone, no matter their background, could rise above. Inspired by Nathan's foundation and the transformation she had experienced, Olivia decided to start a scholarship fund within the organization. The scholarship was aimed at helping young people who, like her, had once struggled with understanding the true meaning of success. She named it the Path Forward Scholarship, dedicated to those who needed a second chance and a guiding hand. Nathan was deeply moved by Olivia's initiative. She had gone from being someone who once embodied pride and prejudice to a woman driven by purpose and compassion. Her scholarship fund brought in additional resources for the foundation, allowing them to reach even more young people and provide them with the tools to create their own success stories. Together, Nathan and Olivia continued to support the foundation's mission, their efforts complementing each other in powerful ways. This partnership brought Olivia peace and a sense of redemption. For her, giving back was a way to honor Nathan's kindness and a means to reconcile with her past. She found a deep sense of purpose in the work, helping others to understand that success meant much more than titles or wealth. The foundation became a second home for her, a place where she could give and grow alongside the people she once looked down on. Years passed, and Nathan found himself at a point in life where he could look back on his journey with perspective and gratitude. He had transformed his life, overcoming hardships that once seemed insurmountable. He had built a career, a home, and a foundation that supported countless young people, just as he had once been supported by Mr. Coleman. One afternoon, he sat down with Mr. Coleman, who had remained a mentor and friend through all these years. They spoke about the journey that had started with a simple conversation at a convenience store, a journey that had brought Nathan from a life of struggle to one of fulfillment and purpose. Mr. Coleman beamed with pride, knowing that his small act of kindness had multiplied tenfold in the lives Nathan had touched. "It's remarkable, Nathan," Mr. Coleman said, his voice warm. "You've taken every hardship and turned it into hope for others. That's something few people can do." Nathan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had taken the seeds of kindness that Mr. Coleman had planted and grown them into something far greater than he had ever imagined. The two men sat together in silence, reflecting on a life that had come full circle, a life of redemption, resilience, and enduring impact. As Nathan's foundation continued to grow, he decided to take a step back, entrusting the leadership to a group of former students who had become devoted to the mission. These young adults had once been part of his mentorship programs, and now they were eager to carry on his legacy. Nathan watched with pride as they took the reins, bringing fresh ideas and energy to the organization. The foundation's vision remained the same: to empower young people to overcome their circumstances and find a path to fulfillment. Nathan's former students honored his teachings, emphasizing character, resilience, and empathy in all they did. With every new program they launched, they honored the values he had instilled in them, ensuring that the foundation would continue to make a difference for generations to come. On his last day as director, Nathan stood before the organization, addressing the staff and students who had gathered to say goodbye. "Never forget where you came from," he said, his voice steady. "And never stop lifting others as you rise. That's the true measure of success." His words hung in the air, a final lesson from a man who had dedicated his life to helping others. As Nathan walked out of the Foundation's doors for the last time, he felt a profound sense of peace. He had given all he could, leaving behind a legacy that would continue long after he was gone. The Foundation stood as a testament to his journey, a beacon of hope for those who needed it most. And with that, Nathan stepped into a new chapter of his life, knowing he had fulfilled his purpose, a purpose rooted in resilience, kindness, and the unshakable belief that anyone could rise above.